The fog lifted. And suddenly, everything hurt. Not just my body, but the silence that followed it. For 2 days, shock had been my shield. It dulled the panic, softened the terror. But now, the shield was gone. I felt the thin cotton of the hospital sheet, the faint chill of morning air brushing over skin that couldn't move, the uneven rhythm of a breath that no longer felt like mine. A single monitor beep pulsed in the background, steady, mechanical, loyal. It was the only proof that something inside me was still keeping time. My eyes traced the ceiling, the pale white tiles forming quiet constellations I could almost count. Each one a second, a minute, a reminder that I was still here. I tried to lift my hand. Nothing. I tried again, nothing. A slow dread spread across my chest. I remembered that before the darkness, I could scratch my face, adjust my hair, hold a spoon. Now, the thought alone felt like a cruel illusion. Maybe later, I whispered inside myself. Maybe it's still just temporary. But somewhere deep down, I already knew this wasn't temporary. A memory flickered, warm light, laughter, the sound of a spoon clinking against a small bowl. My daughter sat in her high chair, 2 years old, trying to feed herself. Rice stuck to her cheeks, soup dribbled down her chin. And she looked so proud, eyes wide, mouth curling into a triumphant grin. I remember laughing softly, not at the mess, but at the miracle of it. Her tiny independence, her pure determination to do it all on her own. The room had smelled of warmth and life. Now, only disinfectant and silence filled the air. That memory burned gentle and bright, a reminder of the life still waiting for me beyond this bed. It hit me then, not like thunder, but like the quiet breaking of glass. This is real. This is my body. This is happening to me. The tears came before the words did. They slid down my cheeks without effort, gravity doing what my will could not. I wept for the life that ended without ceremony, for the woman who once rushed through mornings, who never realized how much she took for granted, until even blinking became effort. I wept for the silence of my phone, for messages that stopped arriving, for friends who didn't know what to say, so they said nothing. I wept because everyone had gone home that night, but I couldn't go anywhere. The hospital became its own universe, a rhythm of sounds and rituals. Nurses came and went like tides, checking drips, recording numbers, adjusting angles. Each movement so practiced, so alive, while I remained a still frame inside their moving picture. I memorized the sounds, the hiss of oxygen, the squeak of rubber soles, the whisper of curtains drawn between beds. It was strange how time could stretch. An hour could feel like a lifetime, especially when you can't even scratch an itch. At night, when lights dimmed, the machines glowed softly, constellations for the sleepless. That was when fear whispered loudest. What if I never walk again? What if I never hold her again? What if this is who I become? A body that remembers movement but can't obey. I tried bargaining with the universe. I'll do better if you just let me move again. I'll be grateful, I swear. But the universe stayed silent. Only the rhythmic beep answered me, patient and unbothered. That night, I prayed. For the first time in years, maybe the first time ever. I prayed to every deity I could remember. To the Buddha, to the gods of mercy, to any spirit who might be listening. I whispered names half-remembered from childhood, hands unable to fold, but my heart bent low. Please just let me walk again. There was no thunder, no divine voice, only stillness. But within that stillness, a strange warmth began to spread. Maybe it wasn't a promise. Maybe it was hope, flickering quietly inside the ruins. I remembered an afternoon at the park. My daughter's small hand wrapped in mine, our shadows stretching long across the path. The breeze brushed our hair, and the world felt impossibly alive. I can still hear her laugh, that high, unfiltered joy only a child can make. We weren't rushing anywhere, just walking, just being. That memory glowed warm against the cold hum of the machines. For a brief moment, I could almost feel the ground beneath my feet again. Then it was gone, but the warmth stayed. A doctor entered, smiled, spoke in careful words. Your progress is stable. We're monitoring the nerves. You're doing well. I nodded or thought I did, but inside I screamed. What does well mean when I can't move my own hand? He adjusted the four, checked the charts, and left. The curtains swayed behind him, closing like a stage after a scene. And I, still the actor left under the spotlight, didn't know how to exit. Late afternoon. The nurse returned. She straightened the blanket, paused, and met my eyes. It's okay, she said softly. You're still here. Something about her tone broke through the fog. Simple words, no false hope, no pity. Just presence. That moment held me. It was the first time I felt seen. Not as a diagnosis, but as a human trying to survive. From that day, I made a small pact with myself. If I can't move my arms, I will move my breath. If I can't speak, I will think words of comfort. If I can't stand, I will imagine the ground waiting for me. They were invisible acts of defiance, but they were mine. Some days, the only victory was a calm breath. Other days, it was making it to sunrise without breaking inside. It wasn't strength yet, but it was endurance taking shape. Overwhelm didn't leave. It simply softened. It stopped feeling like a storm trying to drown me, and started feeling like a tide I could float through. Maybe this was what healing really looked like, not the absence of fear, but learning how to breathe within it. Not the return of who I was, but the birth of someone who could survive this. By evening, the room glowed gold. The machines hummed in rhythm with my breath. I watched a single beam of light move slowly across the ceiling. A quiet, wordless promise that tomorrow would still come. Maybe survival isn't about fighting every second. Maybe it's about staying for one more. This was my second stage. When reality hits. The day numbness gave way to feeling. The day I learned that pain means life is still moving through me. And somewhere, deep within the stillness, a voice whispered,
"You're not done yet."